So, I've seen a lot of talk from people saying that Skirk is unplayable without Escoffier. I want to try and give you some form of encouragement that your Skirk will function fine and still deal big damage without her. I won't lie to you and say there isn't a drop off in team quality because Escoffier really is OP, but you can still beat all content in the game. Skirk is quite restrictive with the passives, but we will experiment and look outside of freeze teams. I don't recommend using the non-freeze teams, but I thought I'd look at them anyway and discuss how they could be improved in the future because I find it fun looking outside of intended playstyles. Just a reminder, she will benefit most from full cryo and hydro teams due to a passive. Because of this, we've got Farina in there. She's going to provide the team with an extra damage dealer, she'll buff Skirk with a fanfare, and she'll even enable Skirk to hold 4-piece Marechaussee. For the flex slots, I recommend hydro so you can get the hydro resonance for extra HP. Yolan's going to be a strong choice because she scales off HP too, provides the team with another damage dealer, and she's also buffing Skirk. Charlotte takes the last slot and she actually brings a fair bit to the team. Firstly, survivability isn't an issue because she heals a lot. Secondly, she heals in a lot of increments which helps build fanfare stacks. Next, she can hold either of Noblesse or Tenacity, which is going to help Skirk a lot because, realistically, most people don't have either of these sets on Farina or Yolan. You can also give her Thrilling Tales to give Skirk even more attack. In AoE situations, against enemies that can be frozen, it's nice that this team has a lot of elemental application. In single target situations where enemies can't be frozen, every single one of these characters excels at single target, so it's a quite flexible team. If you don't have Yolan, you can use Dahlia for extra attack speed, and he also opens up the option to use Calamity of Ishu. There is of course the option to swap someone out, let's say one of the Hydro units, in favour of another cryo support like Seatlally or Shenhe. Seatlally gives us 40% cryo and hydro damage from 4-piece scroll as well as 20% hydro shred for the Hydro unit. Shenhe gives the team a cryo damage bonus from a skill and 15% shred from a burst. They both also help Charlotte with her energy requirements. If I had to pick between the two, I'd definitely lean towards Shenhe because she's going to benefit both Skirk and Escoffier. It also frees up Seatlally for your other teams. Shenhe's a rare unit too, so it's nice to give her a bit of play when there's the opportunity. Now in terms of lore, Skirk is Child's master. She taught him everything he knows about combat when he fell into the abyss as a kid, so trying them together is a must for me. I like how the bursts are named Havoc Ruin and Havoc Obliteration because you're gonna create havoc when you ruin and obliterate your opponent's assholes. Child's biggest downside for me is the skill cooldown, so it's nice to have a team where it's not too much of an issue. Charlotte's contribution to this team is similar to the other teams, except now there are 2 DPSs that can make use of the attack buffs instead of just 1. The Escoffier version of this team is definitely stronger, but I thought I'd include it as something a bit different with his yo-yo in between 2 DPSs in Child and Skirk. It's also nice that you'll be able to use a normal burst and see its animation a bit more in this team, which you won't be able to do much in teams where she's the only on-field DPS. Let's say you don't have Farina. Having Xingqiu and Yolan will give you enough hydro, and with their damage being driven by the on-fielder's normal attacks, units that buff speed bring value to the table. Mika is an often forgotten character given the fact no one likes him. Fortunately for him, Skirk takes pity on him and can make use of the attack speed too. Give him 4-piece Noblesse and you're all set. Dahlia also works in the team with him giving attack speed. He enables Skirk to hold Calamity of Ishu too if you need a holder for it. You could even run Shalonen. You lose the extra skill level from Skirk's passive as well as normal and burst attack damage, but you gain 4-piece scroll and 36% shred on both hydro and cryo. You'd also get an extra 25.6% elemental damage if you have a weapon. I think Shalonen serves as a welcome reminder that while there is a gap between Escoffier and her alternatives, Skirk isn't unusable without Escoffier. Shalonen's the definition of the old reliable. She's a steady Eddie. Even in teams where she's not the best in slot, she is usually at least an 8 out of 10, and that's a useful character to have for situations like this where maybe you don't have the best in slot sustain unit. Looking outside of freeze teams opens up options for those that don't have Escoffier. Pushing the boat out there a little further, we have this melt team. Skirk deals less damage and the team isn't as good as a premium freeze teams, but it's not leagues below it. With opponents constantly being affected by Pyro because of the burning aura, Lion's Roar is a solid option for those with no 5 stars. There are 3 damage dealers and it's nice to have a lot of attack because of Bennett. The biggest issue with this team isn't so much that Skirk isn't triggering her passives, it's more the lack of Void Rifts, so less infusion time. Not the end of the world, but it's worth noting that she doesn't perform as well in this team as Wriothesley would because of it. Watch out Escoffier because I'm going to be cooking for a minute. You could even try teams with Electro. Now, as mentioned at the start of the video, I don't recommend this, but I did want to see how good or bad Skirk is with Electro just for fun. Superconduct still creates rifts, so if you were running someone like Cookie on a full elemental mastery build with 4-piece tenacity, she's going to trigger Superconduct for a lot of damage and give you 20% attack. If you're lucky enough to have a copy of Freedom Swan, she'll give Skirk a further 20% attack and 16% normal attack damage. You can go with Shenhe for the cryo buffs and then one of Rosaria or Kaya in the last slot. Bear in mind, this will be very far off Skirk's ceiling. Superconduct got buffed in 5.2 though, so I'd like to think we will get Superconduct units at some point during Nodcry. This seems purely experimental and I think there are some ways they can improve it. First of all, swapping Rosaria out for a dedicated Superconduct version of Chevreuse would be cool. Also, a more niche Superconduct trigger to replace Cookie would be nice too. A dedicated Superconduct set would be the last piece of the puzzle. Now let's check out some teams where you play her in burst mode. Long story short, you'd use her in place of a support in any team with just Cryo or Hydro teammates. Nuvolette, Farina, Sea Lally, Escoffier for example. You'd usually swap out Sea Lally for Skirk to play her as a burst DPS, but with you not having Escoffier, you could swap her out instead. It will be a step down because you lose Escoffier's resistance shred. Here, Sea Lally will only be shredding Hydro, but she does give Hydro and Cryo damage from 4-piece scroll. Ayato will work in the same team too, and he'll benefit from the extra skill level more than Nuvolette. I didn't include Ayato footage because I don't have him, but it is nice that he's getting another couple teammates in 5.7, especially with Dahlia also giving some more attack speed. The Battle Pass sword, Wolfang, is good for Skirk's burst mode because it's giving her extra crit rate and burst damage. Just know it's not great with a normal attack playstyle. Wriothesley can be used in the same team, and you could try Mona in place of Sea Lally. You can give her Noblesse to give the team some much needed attack, as well as Prototype Amber to heal the team. I liked the damage, but it's not the most comfortable team. Hiromin won't last for the whole rotation, but you should be able to get both Skirk and Wriothesley's bursts off. I've liked these past two patches for Wriothesley. I think he's one of the best designs in the game. My friend's got me into Arcane, and his massive fist reminds me of Vi, so I've always wanted to play him, but I'm not a big fan of the reverse melt setups being so reliant on elemental application. Escoffier and Skirk threw all that out the window and now you can just have fun fisting the enemies. To summarise, Skirk is definitely weaker without Escoffier, but you have options. Just a reminder, I've left a link to my Discord in the description, and over the next few weeks I'm going to pad out some of those lore and music channels with some interesting posts and videos. I practically live in Discord, so if you do too and want to be part of the community, join us over there and take it easy.